I think my coolant needs changing. You continue to do that.
Yeah, why do you think it needs changing?
I have no idea because you told me so.
Okay, so we're going to be changing the coolant on this Ford Focus Mark 1. That's the expansion tank on the left there. It's pretty obvious. If you look, you can see that the existing coolant's green, and that's the main reason that we're going to be changing it in this particular car. Okay, so you will need one Ford Focus, some coolant concentrate. There's 2.5 litres here. Don't use the pre-mix stuff. You want concentrate for the technique that we're going to be using here. You'll also need some distilled or pure water. This is a 10-litre bottle. And a reasonable sized oil tray or some other container in order to catch the coolant out the bottom of the radiator. And a funnel. Okay, so the coolant itself wants to be an OAT fluid, so that stands for Organic Acid Technology. There's a Ford specification. In this case, this Nulon, which is an Australian product, it's actually, the Ford spec is actually printed on the back, so we know for sure that it's the right stuff. If you're not sure, you can buy it from Ford and get ripped off. That's up to you. And this is the distilled or pure water. You can get it from the supermarkets. It's pretty cheap and easy to get. Use it. Don't use tap water because tap water can see it go slimy over time as it grows little nasties in it. Right, we're going to be draining the existing coolant out of the drain plug, which is at the bottom left of the radiator. Now you can get at it without jacking the car up. You can just lie down next to it and you can reach it. And it's a black rubber plug which has got a cross groove in it, which you can undo using a screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, or you could also just use a large enough coin if you had one. And there it is right there. Okay, leave the expansion tank cap done up for now. Get under the car and undo the drain plug. It's going to start leaking out as you do it. Get it all the way out, it's going to start coming out faster. And by the way, you should be wearing some dishwash gloves or some other form of glove to protect your skin because the coolant antifreeze is toxic. You don't want to get it on yourself. Now, the reason we left the coolant expansion tank cap on is in order to stop it, coming out as fast as it might otherwise and rushing all over our arms and face or whatever. So once we've got the drain plug undone, we just get up and take off the cap. And that's going to allow the air to flow through the system, and it's going to drain out much faster. Then we just leave it for 5 minutes or so until it's mostly done draining, and then we're going to put the drain plug back in just to stop it dripping around the place while we get rid of the drained fluid. You don't want any fluid getting on the driveway or ground because animals like cats or dogs like it because it tastes sweet. But of course it's poisonous, so you're not going to make yourself very popular with the neighbours if you get the stuff everywhere. To get rid of the old coolant that you've drained from the radiator, if you have processed sewage, it's safe to simply tip it down the toilet and flush it. Right, the next step is to flush the system, and to do that I'm just going to use just standard tap water. It's a garden hose. Fill the expansion tank up until its maximum level. Make sure the drain plug is in the radiator, obviously. And then we're going to start the engine. And at this point we need to let the engine warm up a little bit, so we need to run it for about 5 minutes. And what we're also going to do is turn the heater on and turn it up to high. The reason we're doing that is to open the heated core up to allow coolant run through that area. If you don't do this, then you're going to have old coolant stay in there and it won't get replaced. So run it until you feel heat coming out of the heater. That proves that there's warm coolant going through it. But don't let it run for too long because you're going to heat the coolant right up and then it's going to be a bit dangerous to work with, so we don't want it too hot. So then we drain the system once again, same procedure as before. Now you can do this flushing as many times as you like. I actually did it twice as many times as is shown in this video. If you know that the old coolant was the right stuff, for example, then it wouldn't really matter, but in this case I want to make sure that we get 99.9% of it out of the system. So the next step is to do a flush with distilled water. So we simply repeat the previous process except using the distilled water instead of tap water. Remember, it's real simple. Put the drain plug in, fill it up with the fluid that you're using to flush it, turn the engine on, run it up so that you're getting hot air out of the heater, turn it off, drain it, start all over. And when you do the final drain, you're going to be seeing completely clear water. You shouldn't be able to see a trace of colour. If you can't see any colour, then obviously you haven't completely flushed the system yet. Now we're done draining and flushing, and we do up the drain plug for the last time, so we do it up tight. Use the screwdriver or a coin, whatever it is you're using. Don't over tighten it, but it needs to be tight enough that the liquid under pressure and heat can't make its way up. Right, and then it's time to put in the coolant or the antifreeze itself. Now remember, the situation at this point is that the system has some distilled water in it, which we've already used to do flushes. Because we can't drain it 100% every time we try to drain it, this is why we use concentrate instead of premix. Because if we were using premix, we would have to use premix to flush it, which would be a waste. Because at this point we're not filling it from empty, so we would, if we were using premix, we would end up with an incorrect ratio. It would just be diluted premix. Whereas now we know that we're putting in the correct amount of concentrate, which should be 50% of the total system volume, and then we just top it up with distilled water afterwards. And then we know that we have, no matter what else we know that we have the correct amount of coolant in the system. So basically we top it up with distilled water to the maximum level on the expansion tank, and then we're done. Now we need to check the level over the next few days of use of the card, just in case there's air blockages in the system or the radiator. You can see here that the level's gone down a few inches, so we're just going to top it up with distilled water and keep doing that until you're happy. The only other thing to check is that you don't have any new leaks that you didn't have before, either from the drain plug or from other components in the system. It's not completely uncommon for leaks to suddenly show themselves. They might have been there before, but the new fluid just seeps through the cracks that the old fluid didn't. You can have things like leaking water pumps and other unpleasantness, so just check under your car that half your new fluid hasn't drained out overnight. And then you really are done.